Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Danial Teacher's Experience. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're relaxed. I hope you're taking it easy. I know that because of COVID and everything, people are getting a little restless. You can't wait for it to be over. My friends, I'm in the exact same spot. I cannot wait for it to be over. Folks, I've talked a lot. Like over the last year and a half, I've really talked a lot. Like I know I've barely scratched the surface, but sometimes I'll be on Instagram, I'll be on TikTok, and I'll watch a video about, let's say, psychology persuasion or a tip on public speaking, and I'm like, dude, I literally said the exact same thing like 8 months ago. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, eventually you just get to a point where it's like even before doing this podcast, I'm not even sure what I'm going to talk about. Like, I don't know if you folks know, there's no script. Sometimes I write down like 3 topics. I don't know, man. Psychology, prostitutes, MMA. I'm like, okay, those are my topics for today. But sometimes there's just no topics. Like today. I just said, let's turn it on, let's kind of talk, and let's see where we go with this thing. And you decided to listen to this goof. So it was you who pressed on this. So don't get mad at me. But yeah, you get to a point where you're constantly talking. And then eventually, it's something that my friends have rarely, if ever, heard me say. I almost run out of things to say sometimes. How much can you say? How many 30, 40-minute long podcasts can you make before you're like, all right, I've talked about everything I wanted to talk about. What I'm saying essentially is this. My friends, a couple years ago, I thought to myself, I said, okay, essentially what I want to do in life is I want to become a person of value. And this is what you should seek to do as well. Daniel, what is a person of value? In my opinion, becoming valuable or becoming a person of value means increasing your skills or your knowledge. And then you can offer that back to society. This is how it goes. Let's say you are pick whatever athlete, basketball player, soccer player, right? Whatever, right? MMA guy. Becoming valuable might be learning new skills. Becoming valuable might be training, right? The more you know, the more you learn, the better you perform. The better you perform, the more, the more value you can give to people, right? The greater you can impact people's lives. And at the end of that, the more money you can make, right? Listen, it's not just, get rich quick, but it's about, hey man, you want to live a certain life. You want to go vacations a certain amount of times a year. Maybe you always want to travel, right? That takes money. That doesn't come for free. You don't need to make $100 million. You don't. Depending on where you live, man, I believe the correlation between happiness and, no, I shouldn't say happiness. Life satisfaction and finances, if I'm not mistaken, was about $100,000. But we got to be careful to not quote me on that because I don't know exactly where they were looking at. Like it's going to differ, right? $100,000 here, right? In British Columbia, Canada. Are we talking $100,000 in Prince Edward Island, in Las Vegas, Nevada? Like where? But it was around 100K. I want to say somewhere in, I should have really checked where that is. Probably North America. I'm pretty sure North America. Like, wow, Daniel, way to, specify the continent. Good job. Thank you. Thank you very much. But yeah, you just want to become a person of value, right? And essentially what happens is whenever I make these podcasts and I get on here and I talk, well, where are these ideas coming from? For sure, it's some of my own life experiences. It's some of my own thoughts and interpretations. But a lot of it is just, you're a sponge and you soak everything in, right? Everything that's around you. And for me, that's going to lectures. That's studying for tests. Essentially, I'm saying, this is probably going to be on the test. This is an interesting topic I'd like to talk about. I'd like to expand on further for an episode, right? Listening to podcasts. For the first time in human history, audio, like listening to something, has as much reach as books do, as the written word. 30, 40 years ago, man, you got to write a book. And this book, has to get thrown around in bookshelves. And that's the way that you can reach the public. I'm not talking about politicians or presidents, but just regular people like you and me. Now we're in a place where anyone could make an Instagram account for free. Anyone could make a podcast for free. And your word, what you're saying, or like I was looking at my, the people listening to this podcast, and it's actually pretty interesting, right? The vast majority are right here in British Columbia, Canada. After that, there's a couple in California. There's a couple in Texas. There's 1 or 2 in Guatemala. It is very interesting. You kind of just see, and I believe there's a few people from the United Kingdom who listen to this. So thank you to everybody who listens. I support you. I thank you for supporting me. I support you in supporting me. Yeah, that sounds slick. But yeah, it's so cool. It's like, man, like some dude or like some guy from like Ireland listens to this podcast. Isn't that wild? Somebody's like, hey, McGregor, Danial Teaches has another one up, or that was, it's okay, I tried. But that's so crazy to me, man. That's so crazy to me. And that was almost impossible, if not literally impossible 40 years ago, for a regular person to get their word out like that. So essentially, right, when I kind of get stumped, or not stumped, but when I feel like I'm running out of things to say, it's just because like there either isn't something that I'm super passionate about, or I just have to read more books, man. I gotta listen to more podcasts. I gotta listen to more lectures. Because essentially what you do is, you take something that you hear from lecture, and you take something that you read from a book, you combine those two different perspectives, you roll them up, then you give your own interpretation of it, and then you can expand on it in a different perspective. And I think that's where the beauty comes from. You want to become a person of value. You want to, no matter what you do, you want to be valuable to other people, right? Whatever that may be, right? You want to learn a skill that you can implement, that you can do for other people, which will help them, which will make life easier for them, whatever that is, right? Whether it's for the sake of argument, delivering pizza, so a person doesn't have to leave their house, or making a pizza business, so you're in charge and you got people work for you. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying, but you want to give value. You want to give value to the people. That's one of the reasons why I love people who have PhD beside their name. It's not because of the piece of paper or whatever, or the societal prestige, but it's because, hey man, that PhD is symbolic for you've had at least 10 years in your field, at least. And someone other than yourself or your friends has said, yep, this dude is technically an expert. Now, anyone with a PhD, they still have much to learn. I don't want you to think that everything that they say is true, but man, we're not equal. If I'm sitting here with a guy with a PhD in neuroscience, we're not equal, right? His knowledge, like the amount that it exceeds mine is incomprehensible, right there. See, that doctor of neuroscience, he wouldn't even make that like English mistake. But you can see what I mean, right? It'll be night and day. Why? Right? Why is it when I like give advice or I talk about how I feel or my thoughts, you can listen to it for free? But then if you want to hear a psychologist's thoughts, he'll say, yeah, no problem, come to my office, $145 an hour. And you'll say, okay. Because he's studied the literature for 15, 20 years, right? He's a more valuable individual than I am. He has more knowledge, he has more skills, therefore he can provide you with more value. Thus, whatever money he's charging you, the charge reflects the value that he's giving you. Or that's how I perceive it anyway. So whatever you are, if you're a businessman, employee, whatever, I would like to think that in the perfect world, obviously this doesn't always apply because there are people who scam and there are people who overcharge for their mediocre service. That when someone charges you money, that money is a reflection of the value that you're gaining. You might go to a counselor's office for 30 minutes. You're like, Jesus Christ, like $90 for that doesn't make any sense. But the value that he gives you in 30 minutes, that's what's important. It doesn't matter if it was a 30-minute session or a 3-hour session. The fact that you go out of there and now you and your wife don't divorce, or you got a better relationship with your son, or whatever it is, right? It's the value that he's giving you. And I think that's what's really, really important, right? You become valuable. You can offer greater advice or greater whatever, your skills and knowledge to people. And rightfully so, he can charge whatever he wants accordingly, right? Whatever money is a direct reflection of the value that he's adding to you. Folks, I'm only 21. I'm so green. It's unfreaking believable. Like, do you know how many episodes they're going to be? Like, I'm going to keep doing this until I'm 40, like at least. Unless there's like some sort of tragic accident or something goes wrong, I'm going to keep doing this. And for a large part, it will be 1 episode a week unless something comes up. 1 episode a week. I'm 21. So I'm going to do that until I'm 40. So for at least another 19 years. That's crazy. Like, I'll be so damn consistent that you'll listen to this. Your future wife or husband, you can tell them about me. You can have kids, and then when that kid turns like 11, you can introduce your kid to me. Like, it'll be insane. It'll be like, yo, you know this guy I'm listening to? I started listening to him when I was 21, And now I got a wife and kids, and now my kids listening to Danial Teaches too. That'd be crazy, man. That'd be insane. Yeah, I'm going to do this for a long time. And at one point, like I always thought to myself, I was like, man, like when I'm doing this, right, the number one reason is I'm doing it for fun, right? But after that, it's like, I want to impact people. I want to be valuable. I want to give you helpful advice. I want to make your life better any way that I know how, right? Now, my specialty is psychology. So that's why I want to become an expert in this field. I want to become extremely well-versed so I can help you out. Because essentially, folks, I think that's what life is, right? I think life is about giving. You want to give. And of course, don't get me wrong, you want to go out with your friends and, watch the fights and kick back and take it easy. But for the most part, don't you want to give to something greater than yourself? Don't you think that's a huge reason why people have kids? So they can provide for someone that's not them? Because if you have to get up in the morning for you, it's one thing. But if you got to get up in the morning to, put food on the table, that's a whole other story. You got a different amount of responsibility. And I believe that one place where people find meaning in their lives is responsibility. Because if people are counting on you, you feel that accountability and you want to live up to it. And the literature shows when you put the bar a little bit higher, people will reach it. People will jump higher than they thought they could. That's why it's important when setting goals to make your goals a little bit more difficult, because it'll push you further. You'll be able to do more. That, like, for example, if you're aiming for a grade, right, on an exam, you'd be far better off saying, I'm going to shoot for 90%. I'm going to shoot for 90% or 95%, rather than, man, I hope I can just get a 65. Like, if I can just get even if you don't get a 90%, dude, the chances are you're going to get an 85 or maybe even an 80. Now, where's 85 and where's 65? Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. You can't even compare it. So aim, my friends, aim really, really high. Seek to become valuable, right? Seek to give to something greater than yourself, to a family, to people around you, to your coworkers. You want to impact people's lives, hopefully in a positive manner. You want to feel like you're doing something. You only have one life. It'd be a shame if you kind of just came and went and nobody noticed. Do you ever think about being at a party or being in a classroom and someone's not there and nobody notices? Like, oh, Steve wasn't here today? I didn't even notice him. But then you have those other people who the moment they're not there, something's missing. I'm not saying you got to be the loudest person in the room, but I'm saying if you can leave an impact, I think you should. Because someone, somewhere, is waiting for you. Whatever it is, whether you want to be an English teacher, whether you want to be an engineer, whether you want to go into accounting, whether you're a YouTuber, someone somewhere is waiting for a person just like you to come along. They're looking for a therapist who can understand them at that level, from that perspective that you have. They're waiting for an English teacher, who has the background that you have. All you got to do is come along. And you can call it fate, you can call it universe. I call it probability. Someone is looking for the exact person that you are. Like, you are 100% a candidate for someone. That is both job-wise and partner-wise. Someone out there has literally thought to themselves, okay, if I'm going to meet someone, they're going to be in exactly the way you are. They're going to be kind, they're going to be gentle, they're going to love fishing, they're going to love reading, whatever. That person's out there. And you got to understand that you're going to come across that person sooner or later, or that job or that employment sooner or later. You just have to be ready. You got to be ready to give. You got to be ready to do what you have to do to give back. So I think what you're gonna notice with this podcast is, right now, I would say the advice from what I've learned so far. Guys, I throw around I'm a psychology student a lot. Folks, I'm not a PhD candidate, right? I'm not going off for my internship anytime soon. I've been studying this for realistically, man, since 2017. Okay, so 4 years. I've been studying this thing for 4 years. Brother, you barely know the basics of 4 years of anything. 4 years of jiu-jitsu, 4 years of psychology, 4 years of, belly dancing. I would argue I have a solid foundation. Even that's debatable, man. I have a decent foundation now. I'm so excited for you and your growth and development in these next couple of years, especially post-COVID, to see what you've done during quarantine. I'm sure a lot of people, mental health went down. I'm sure a lot of people's weight went up. I'm sure as soon as COVID restrictions, everything's gone, people are going to party like animals. The clubs are going to be filled, and people are going to go on vacations, and hotels are going to charge prices through the roofs, and probably airports are going to charge prices through the roofs because they know that everybody wants to go. Man, restaurants are going to be packed. And I'm really curious to know, what COVID kind of did to you. And I'm very happy to hear that a lot of people that I've talked to, they said, Daniel, it's giving me time to reflect. It's giving me time to look back on my life and just kind of pat myself on the back for the things that I have done and look out into the future for the things that I want to do. I myself If you think my advice or my talk about life and psychology and philosophy is interesting now, my friends, I haven't even started. Oh my goodness. 10 years from now, I'll listen back to these episodes and I'll say, man, like, yikes, I can't believe I uploaded this. I can't believe anybody listened to this and didn't swear at me. Oh man. But that's what life is, you know. If you're a young person like me and you're 21, this is the time to kind of plant the seed and watch it grow, you know. And you're not waiting for anything crazy to pop up in the next week, month, or year, but in the next coming years. And even if you're in your 30s or 40s or 50s, that's still young. You got people out here living till they're 100. Take care of yourself, drink lots of water, sleep well, eat well, exercise. You're young. You're 100% young, man. You know, a lot of it is a perception. I know a 60-year-old who says, no, I can't do anything. I can't walk, I can't do anything. But they can. It's just psychologically. I know another 60-year-old who regularly, you know, goes hiking and biking and practices martial arts. How well do you take care of your body and your perception of yourself? If you think, oh, I can't do it. No, on my back, I can't do it. Say, okay, well, I guess you can't do it. But I want you to know, 8 times out of 10, it's a mental thing. I'm not saying there isn't joint and back pain and all that stuff, but it's doable. I promise you. I don't know whether it's surgery, whether it's pills, what the solution is, but just enjoy as much life. Enjoy as much of life as you can right now, because I promise you things will work out. They will. They will work out. Daniel, how do you know that? I don't believe in magic. I don't believe in, you know, God looking down on me and saying, all right, man, I'm going to make it work out for you. Guys, it's just probability. You work hard. You be consistent. Network. Take care of your health. Constantly throw the punch. One of them is going to land. Eventually, I don't know if it's going to be the first one. I don't know if it's going to be the 10th one. But eventually, something will land. Eventually, you will hit 1 million followers. Eventually, you will get that 6-pack. Eventually, you will, you know, marry that guy or girl of your dreams. It's just a matter of time. And that's not some sort of fancy schmancy, you know, increase your vibration. That's a, hey, as long as you're trying, you're already 50% in. You can either win or lose. But for the person who doesn't even try, they've chosen defeat. You've already lost. But if you showed up, and if you uploaded that YouTube video or uploaded that song, or you went to that lecture today, you're already ahead of so many people who decided in their heads that it wasn't going to work out, so they weren't even going to try. If you're listening to this, I hope you pat yourself on the back. Life is full of suffering and hardships and obstacles. And I am extremely proud of you for making it this far. I'm not surprised why people kill themselves. When you read a lot of psychology, it's just, you know, it doesn't shock you anymore. Abusive parents. Dad walked out at a young age. You know, drug addicted. Beaten up, whatever. I know why people kill themselves. There's some horrible things. Sure, there's different variations, but it's generally all in the same category. The question is, why haven't we killed ourselves? Why are we still alive? If the world is full of suffering and hardships and brutality and young kids getting terminally ill and betrayal, why have we not killed ourselves? Because life might not be worth living if we didn't have suffering. We need suffering in order to appreciate life. If you believe that life is meaningful, then all of life is meaningful. That includes when your partner cheats on you. That includes getting fired from your job. That includes being addicted to heroin or cocaine. If life is meaningful, then everything that life encompasses is also meaningful. Therefore, there is meaning in suffering. Now, to suffer for the sake of suffering, that's just crazy. Like, that's insane. That should not be a way to live. So find something to make life meaningful. This is not how you propose to someone. Julia, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and I want to love you forever until the day we both die. No, that's foolish. This is how you'd really propose to someone. Julia, life is full of suffering. We're going to go through some horrible things. We're going to witness death, sickness, and betrayal. That's a lot to carry for a human being. Do you want to be side by side and take on all this suffering with me? So that when one of us needs help, the other one can assist. Life is full of dread and obstacles and horror and terrible things. How about we have each other's back and we go through it together? That's a lot more realistic. The first one is just Hollywood fabricated. We're going to love each other till we die. Nah. But the second one is real, blunt, upfront. Saying, listen, we're in for a hell of a ride. And by ourselves, we could maybe survive it. But together, we'd both be better off. So what do you say? Find something to make your life meaningful. Whether that's your kids, whether that's your job. You need a reason to get you out of bed because life is going to break your legs. I swear to God. And I hope that when hell shows up at your front door, you can do something about it. You can stand on your own 2 feet and you can face it. And when something terrible happens, you remember whatever your meaning was in life, whether it was giving value to people, whether it was just being there for your kids and your family, whatever it may be, you need to have a meaning in your life. Because when hell shows up on your doorstep, that's the only thing that's going to keep you going. It's interesting. I started this podcast thinking, man, I got no idea what I'm going to say. And I started talking about, man, I've really run out of things to say. But once again, the magician, Daniel Teaches, has found a way to ramble on for 22 minutes plus. My friends, I'm going to call it there. I thank you very much for listening. I know that a lot of what I say sometimes starts getting repetitive, but it's because it's true, right? So essentially what I do a lot of times is I say the same thing in a different way, right? I like to use this, this example. I like to paint the same picture using different colors. It's the same idea, but sometimes if I word it differently, if I use a different metaphor or analogy, if I use different examples, maybe the same idea that didn't click with a person a month ago, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, just clicks. And they're like, Daniel, I 100% understand, and I'm with you, man. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you take care of yourselves, and don't forget to pat yourself on the back for me. Have an absolutely amazing day, and take care.